Alright, we're doing one of these again. I felt in the mood to do this. I had the idea at about 3 p.m. today. It's 10 now. I wrote the notes like 10 minutes ago. So this should be a phenomenal video with no issues whatsoever, eh? Nah, I jest mostly. But I don't know. We'll see how this one ends up. Chances are it actually might end up being one of the few I ever scrap. Did you know I had a video, or an SCP readings video, scrapped because I about passed out halfway through it? Like, just straight up, right then and there, middle recording, basically collapsed forward onto my bed and just fucking. Like, not straight up, right? But I was like, I was barely hanging on. Like, I was like barely there. But with any luck, and who knows, we'll be fine this one, right? Um, I hope anyway. Might be a bit of a longer one, might be a bit of a shorter one. We'll see depending on what I say or what I feel I can end up saying or I don't know, stuff like that. Anyway, we're back with some more of these videos, these in like italics or something, where we get back into my usual swing of things. If you have any ideas for what I could talk about, please just give me anything because I am kind of running on empty. Mechanicus and Darkest Dungeon 2 stuff will follow soon, right? It's just, classwork and stuff. But I am happy to be doing these again. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about like legends and stories. Well, right. Reminder: you can read this, you can check the description and see ahead of time what I'm about to discuss, like the points I have for myself as like a little checklist. Skim through that if you want, get a feel of what I'm about to say before I say it, or hell, if even just those help you, go ahead, man. Um, but anyway, with maybe some further ado, I don't know. We'll see how we go. I think I am ready to start talking about this topic. Like I said, we are going to be discussing legends in stories. Now that means a few different things, right? Uh, I didn't click that. Sorry, I was messing with something on my phone just to put it up on the side. Oh, hey, look at that. Bad at all. I'm messing with something on the side. So legends and stories and what all that means, right? There's a few different ways to take this into consideration, and I'm gonna try to one of them. So which one to start with is the burning question, burning love, summer love, least of the painful, is the burning question. I mean, yeah, why not start with the starting point? Why does legend form? Actually, no, let's do this. I'm gonna add this real time. Why does the legend exist? Question mark. Mark it off. Okay. When I say why does the legend exist, I mean this twofold, actually. Why does the legend exist in universe, right? Why does this legend why has it survived to whatever modern time is happening in your story? Why do people parrot it? Why is it said? Like, is there a purpose to it? Which I guess goes hand in hand with moral, but no. And also, why does this legend exist in terms of your story? How does this help your story go along? And sure, not everything you add needs to be 110%. This is beneficial to my story for these reasons that I will now outline for you. But why does this legend exist for your story? Why are you putting it in? Are you putting it in to be representative of the like trials your main character is currently going through? Are you putting this legend in as some easy world building, as some easy culture designing for your world again? Are you putting in this legend to hint towards something that may have happened in the past? So it's like foreshadowing. Is this legend even just simply a reference to like a not a prequel, like a previous installment in your series? Or is it like a nice tongue-in-cheek thing for the reader to catch of like, oh hey, this is like a referential humor or something, right? Yeah. Right? And obviously a legend doesn't have to encompass every single point I just mentioned, but why does this legend exist in your story? Both in terms of it's a writing tool for you to use, and in terms of in universe, why does it exist? Now, why is it important to get all that on paper beforehand, right? Because you don't need every single little detail plotted out. Why should you plot out every little facet of the legend? And honestly, you don't need to plan out every little tiny facet of the legend, right? It's whatever. It can just be set dressing if that's all you need it to be. But ahead of time going in, you probably want to decide that because as nice as it is to sprinkle seeds on the ground and watch what blooms, or otherwise known as write a bunch of things down and then whenever you need, you can pull something out and be like, hey, check out this thing and watch as I use it for this purpose. And it feels organic as it was indeed alluded to in previous chapters and that effect. Things are a lot smoother and flow a lot better, especially for your reader and how even you as the writer, if you ahead of time have a little plot, or like not a little plot, a little skeleton draft for what's about to go down. So remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. No. Well, yes, but also no. Um, why does legend exist? What is the purpose, and how much are you going to stick to it? Are you going to break away from like the ideals espoused by the legend, or are you going to reinforce them throughout your story? Does the legend matter to your main character? More so than just like, oh, does it represent them, but like on a character level, like, is this legend something they like learning about, or is it something hanging over their head like in the executioner's axe, waiting for it to fall, and it like strikes them with fear? And I don't mean that in the terms of a prophecy, because we'll get into prophecies on their own terms, because prophecies are their own, I want to say, like, trope. But, like, I usually don't want to say trope, because trope for some reason has a really negative connotation. When honestly, I'm just like, tropes is fine, man. Tropes is fine things. Or rather, I don't mind them. What was I thinking about? Why can't I remember? I guess you know what? That's enough I'll say for like that on why this legend exists. Basically just like plot out ahead of time. Is this going to be something you're going to bring back, or is this a one-time like once over and it's done thing for your story? And even if it was a once over and this is done thing for your story, in the future maybe you could have it be a recurring thing should you want to, right? Setting the stage for yourself even before you know you're going to use it ain't half bad trick to use as an author or writer or whatever. Remember, half of writing is just smoke and mirrors, right? Most of writing is just excuses for things to happen, and that's fine so long as it's not overt. Maybe I'll get into talking about that one day if I can even organize my own thoughts on that idea, but you get what I'm trying to say. Hopefully, I hope this wasn't clumsy or nothing. Anyway, why does legend form? Pretty simple question. Why does the legend form, right? Take for example, and this is definitely gonna be one of the videos where like I touch on all of these topics constantly and then focus on one, but still like reference it throughout the other times I talk about stuff. But take for example some urban legends, or hell, even like fairy tales, right? Why do those form? It's like a warning, right? That would be the moral lesson of that. Like Hansel and Gretel, don't go. No, I guess Little Red Riding Hood, don't go wandering in them there woods, boy, sort of thing. Or more accurately, don't trust wolves pretending to be your grandma. Man, actually, those faces are weird as fuck now that I think about it. And obviously, like Three Little Pigs, hard work pays off and whatnot. Or, if you want to get technical, sacrificing your brothers for time to build your brick fortress is ideal and whatnot. Um, no. But why does legend form in your world, right? Is it reactionary to... reactionary makes it sound weird. Is it like a response or way to capitalize on something that had happened recently? Like, right, like say, the legend, it has formed because it was in response to a rising superpower or something to that effect. So like the ideas of their like their generals or leaders were like reflected throughout history and shit, like Napoleon or something, or hell, even fucking George Washington. He's got like bit of a legend zone to his own, or hell, ugh. Or hell, even vaguely, it can just be called like a cultural thing. Like you trace their roots back to when they were like indigenous peoples or nomadic or something, and these legends are just something that's always stuck around. It's always been a saying or like a teaching or like hell even now like a children's bedtime story because fairy tales are that for some reason. German people are fucking weird. Isn't that where like that shit comes from? Like from like German people? These guys are weird, man. Anyway, uh, you just sip some water very quickly. But why does a legend form, right? Because you need to know a little bit of that because why the legend form does obviously shape the tale it's spinning, right? The what's the word I'm looking for? Like the pressures that led to the legend being formed, like it's et cetera, et cetera. Like it's a little snapshot into history. Occasionally, sometimes maybe. Basically, I'm just telling you to put more thought into bits surrounding the legend more so than just the legend itself. Because as nice as it is, why the fuck would anyone have made a prophecy? Where's the diviner? I hate diviners. That is a weird side topic. But divining fucking sucks, and I wouldn't. Like, if I could divine, I wouldn't. I'll just put it there. Anyway, we're talking about urban legends, right? Take some modern urban legends, such as Jeff the Killer and his iconic phrase, "I'm gonna Jeff the kill you." The thing he's known for saying. He's always said that. Nah, I'm fucking with you. Everyone knows Jeff the Killer's catchphrase is unironically "Go to sleep," which fucking sucks actually when you think about it. Hmm? How lame. It would be way better if his catchphrase actually was "I'm gonna Jeff the kill you" because that's fucking like that's so fucking stupid. I love it. Anyway, no, but think of urban legends, right? Because those would feasibly exist in your writing or your worlds or what have you. And that's not something you see often because again, these things are usually just side notes or set dressing or strictly speaking completely superfluous. But I enjoy them. Strangely enough, I really enjoy when a story does add an urban legend or two. Because it makes everything feel more real. If you want cheap and easy world building, especially for like a small local area, adding in an urban legend or two about like, oh yeah, did you know 60 some years ago a family lived over in that building right there, and then you like go into like an abusive household, and the son or whatever snapped, killing their family, their neighbors before burning themselves in the front lawn, and their ghost still wanders around on their birthday and death day or some shit like that, right? You get the idea, because that makes the world feel more real. Well, I guess their tragedy in the specific circumstance, but I guess not every urban legend is explicitly like ghosts and shit. I don't know. I am not the main character from The Showers who really fucking liked urban legends. I'm not that guy. Despite fucking adoring the SCP Foundation, and I'm sure you're well aware of that. When I say that, it makes me sound bitter about it. Believe me, I'm not. It's just like, I don't know. We just got off the 9K contest, and it's been on my mind recently. What a nice contest, or at least, or rather, I liked it. I really want to play fucking Shipwrecked right now. Um, where was I? Right, some urban legends. Um, but obviously, you're right. If you're putting an urban legend in a story, most times, if there's an urban legend in a story, it will end up being at least partially true, or like a lampshade or something. Obviously, for horror, gets cut and dry, right? How that's going to come into play in the story. Oh, I wonder in this spooky story, how is this tale of fucking patricide, fratricide, sororicide, matricide? What's the word for just family murder? Surely it's not familicide, right? I would look it up, but that'd be weird. Obviously, like in a horror story, like oh yeah, this tale of familial murder, suicide, and also regular murder, suicide, and then immolation is going to come into play in the story when they start smelling burnt flesh and hearing the crackle of gasoline, the crackle of gasoline, the crackle of a gas fire or something, right? But even stories that don't take that into account, right? If you're just doing like characterization for like a character's asshole little brother or something, like that's fun if you get what I'm saying. And obviously you can riff on them or like play on these or what have you, or if you're doing dark fantasy, right? Things like this kind of coincides with cryptids, but kind of doesn't. If you're doing like dark fantasy or hell, even just fantasy in general, urban legends surrounding the typical monsters we see are a very easy way to naturally start to integrate those sorts of things into your story. An urban legend around banshees is a nice way to start the ball rolling on those sorts of creatures. I was about to say in Ghosts and Possession, but banshees actually don't possess people. Also, the history of banshees is kind of weird. They never really screamed people to death. I don't know where that comes from. They usually just sang bereavement songs about people both living and dead and like divined people's dates of death and stuff. They were never really active in it. They also used to all be pretty. It's weird. Banshees are a weird thing. But the point I'm making here is for again, because I really personally focus on fantasy. You can absolutely utilize things like urban legends in order to, what was I saying? Start to shift focus and naturally give a little bit of background information or hell, even just a little bit of overall exposition on the monsters your main characters are going to face, such as a banshee, such as a mimic, or even explain the different kinds of dragons via urban legends and urban tales and folk tales and things like that. That is one of my favorite ways to, if I put a legend in my story, which I'm actually wants to do. I'm never really one to do it, but if I do, I usually try to have it be like a way to feed info to the audience in a way that doesn't feel very ham-fisted or just, hey kids, here's the raw data. Isn't that fun to hear about from me, the person expositing all this to you? Watch as I lose all my characterization and just give you a fucking timeline of the world. No. Legends are a fun way to do things like that. Or to explain away taboos or fears. Right? Why does the main character not swim? Because everyone fears that drowning traps your soul in the water and prevents you from going into the afterlife or something to that effect. Like, obviously, that's a really weird thing, and I don't think that would actually make a culture that doesn't want to swim, but you get what I'm trying to say? Because surely that would emphasize, like, strong swimmers, actually, right? To, like, prevent yourself from drowning. I don't know. You can figure it out. Because especially because this is kind of plot specific. What do you need the legend to do, and how are you gonna make it do that? Oh God. And how are you gonna make it do that? I ate like an hour ago. Why am I still nauseous? Ugh. Ugh. There we go. Tons of water. But um, keep like an open mind, right? If you don't want to just do a straight shot, no chaser of like info, don't. And instead try to dress it up nice and pretty with things like a legend, like an urban legend, like a tall tale, like kids at a sleepover trying to scare each other with how much monster stuff they know, whether or not it's accurate or not. And then you can even get into a little scene with that where they go, "No, I heard that actually this happened instead," and shit like that. I don't know what kids do at sleepovers. I didn't go to very many at all. I was the weird kid. I bit people. I still do that. Um, let's talk about. Oh, I guess that's a good segue, right? Consistent. Why or why not? Um, how consistent is the legend, right? We've got like in our real world, or so I've been told. Again, I don't really collect legends and stories and tales. In our real world, right? Uh, Roy, why did I say it like that? In our real world, right? We don't exactly have every single story and tale all in some neat archival catalog somewhere so that you can check it out and see how it evolved through the years, how it changed, and what's the same. No, instead we have a bunch of different variations and spins on this exact same tale. It's like, hell, La Llorona, she has like three different ways of her origin. No, the different ways gnomes are depicted are like very, I don't want to say like extreme, but like there's a bunch of different ways like gnomes are depicted upon across various cultures. All the different depictions. I want to say like Mothman. I don't know. What? Give me a sec to like organize my thoughts very quickly. What do I even? Ugh. It's hard because I don't personally know all too much about this, right? I couldn't tell you tales myself. It's one big game of telephone, is what I'm trying to say. Are these legends consistent? Why are they? Why are they not? Why are they consistent could be a genuinely good question. Is the subject of the legend a recent thing? And because of that, people are more aware of the finer, intricate details as their story is currently being spun to you. Like actively, like this person who's getting all these legends written about them is still alive and actively changing things in the world. Hell, it could even be a main character. Fuck? That was a weird noise in my house. Um, it's freaking me out. Or shit, it might be fucking audio recording of when I die. Wouldn't that be morbid? Um, or why not, right? Such as the legend is like hundreds of years old and has been embellished many times in order to flout this country's naval might or tactical acumen or industrial capability or things like that, right? Because why they aren't consistent is a story all to itself as you see what sort of face this country or peoples or whatever are trying to like portray of themselves, if you see what I mean. Like tracking the shift of this legend could reflect the shift of this culture, if only some. And obviously, that's like a lot of fucking effort for a story. Or I guess like more effort than what am I? Hmm. Because I don't want to say more effort than it's worth, because that's just not true. That is what things that are tricky are worth their fucking effort, right? But that's definitely a lot to try to do, is what I'm trying to say. I think. Ugh. My point is, there's more than one way to go about with this legend, as opposed to this not stock, to this stagnant ideal or tale of this like chivalric figure. Instead, it could be something that's been warped and been changed and been shifted a little. Well, I guess warped is a bit too extreme. Changed and been shifted a little bit by various cultures and peoples to suit like whatever sort of force they're trying to present of themselves. And that could be a nice little bit of subtle world building and show the shift in timelines, shift in ideals, and whatnot that you can definitely play on later for the story you're telling. Whether it be like reliving back up to those ideals that used to be held once again, or to change not the past, because that is definitely not like I don't want to say like revision of history, but to change the cultural zeitgeist almost and like move towards a different way of thinking and behaving idea. Do you see what I'm trying to get across? But as much as I'm like flooding, like, oh, it would be so cool if you can see how it changed throughout time and that like makes these things like propped up more. It, hell, even a century old story remaining the way it is fucking impressive. It shows like cultural might to resist change, whether or not that's a good or bad thing is completely up to you. But cultural might to resist change and keep these things tucked close to their chests and the hearts and minds of the people and whatnot. Or hell, even just stating that, like, yeah, this place is powerful, it has been for a while, and it will continue to be after a while for your main location or kingdom or what have you. Um, I don't know what else to say for that because I was struggling to say anything for that in all honesty. It was all about cryptids. First of all, I want you to in the comment section put down your favorite cryptid. Mine's gotta be the Fresno Nightcrawlers. If you don't know what the Fresno Nightcrawlers are, look them up right now. Spoiler alert, they look like pants. Fresno Nightcrawlers. They are one of, if not my favorite ever cryptid. They are the funniest thing ever. And I really want to believe they're real. Not because any of this thing makes sense, because it's the funniest thing I have ever seen. And I love it. I love it well and truly. Uh, so keep in mind whenever you make any story, and this is mandatory, to put the Fresno Nightcrawlers in your story in one way or another. It's actually required by law. I looked it up. It's in the World Builders Law. Sorry, you're not enough of a cool author to like start reading the World Builders Law. You'll get there one day, champ. Chin up. And before like an actual fucking published author rushes in fucking video. Um, but like cryptids are just like if you want to do world building, if you want to do like add cool monsters to your world, this is the way to do it, right? Do you got an idea for some bullshit? Throw that bitch in there. You get an idea for like a cool spec evil monster? But that's honestly probably very improbable and in no way like an actual thing. Cryptid, baby. You want a weird character? They're obsessed with cryptids. You want to just make cryptids? Fuck it, go off, dog. That's always some good fun. Now, why did I put cryptids in legends? Well, it's because they're like legends all themselves, right? Well, for starters, everyone knows the Fresno Nightcrawlers. I think some people claim they're venomous. Or did I gaslight myself into thinking that? Did I gaslight? Fresno Nightcrawler Venomous? Question mark exclamation point? 'Cause I want to say someone said that. I don't care what you tell me, AI overview. Also, never tell me it's not a real animal ever again in your life. Are the nightcrawlers harmless? Uh, hmm. Which one was it that I heard someone say was venomous? I'm losing my fucking mind, I think. It's Squidward Suicide, he was venomous. That creepypasta sucks, by the way. I guess that goes for most creepypastas. SCP on top, baby. Anyway, cryptids are definitely like a fun thing to add in your story, just for like embellishment's sake, or hell, like I said, if you want to just add some new monster designs, fucking throw them in there. Who gives a shit, yeah? But Um, that's pretty much the long and short of it. I just want to read more stories where they mention cryptids because cryptids have been a fascination of mine. I'm Mexican, fucking love the chupacabra. Well, I guess I don't because my family does own goats, but it's a fun little creature. I had a dream once. I was at a party. This is like in middle school. I had this dream, so it's ages ago. It's fuzzy memory. I was at a party with some of my friends, right? I don't remember, I was in my usual like formal air quotes for a party, button up shirt, black pants, leather shoes. It was like really, I was bored as fuck at the table drinking something, and I get up and my friends all follow me. We go outside into like this into like an alleyway. The best way to describe it is like the alley in Kino the Ton. We go into an alleyway and like I grab a shovel that was sitting on the side there and like walk behind like a fenced off area and start beating a chupacabra to death. So that was a pretty cool dream that I'm just now remembering. Anyway, like it's fun to hear all these different cryptids and think about how would they function if they could. And hell, you could even, like I said, world building, it's obvious, right? Like, oh yeah, this culture has this cool, unique animal. But also, it is also a little bit of world building for environments as well. Because you start thinking about with cryptids, like all their weird evolutionary. I wanted to say ecological and evolutionary and mix them two together. All the different evolutionary adaptations that they would have, which are usually exaggerated for the locations they live in, but that will then reflect like, oh yeah, Yetis are covered in hair. Obviously, they live in somewhere cold, right? Uh, Fresno nightcrawlers are pairs of pants, so they live sort of with a lot of fucking clotheslines. I, I cannot stop thinking about it. I adore those fucking things. It was the Mongolian deathworm was incredibly poisonous. That's the one I was thinking about. That's what I got confused. It was the Mongolian deathworm. Let me just double check that. Mongolian deathworm. I don't give a shit. AI answer. Fuck you, Wikipedia. That looks like the image I think of. None of the. Yeah, yeah. Wait. It's not real. Whatever. I believe in my heart of hearts that it exists because I want it to exist, not because I think it would be like actually good for the environment. Because I think it'd be hilarious. Well, I guess hilarious is the wrong way to say it, but I like thinking about it. Oh yeah, it inspired the graboids, didn't it? Where is? See, also a graboid, nice. Hot-headed naked ice borer. What does that mean? Well, now I have to click on this link. I'm sorry that you're just looking at me go through, well, hearing me. It's a fictional animal? No. Made as an April Fool's joke on Discover magazine. In my heart of hearts, you exist, hot-headed naked ice borer. What a gross looking creature, actually. Maybe I don't want that one to exist. Um, investigation? No. Appearance? No. No. Okay, Mongolian deathworm venom? Question mark. Is Mongolian deathworm venomous? Both the head and tail resemble a big hole line with big fangs, making the worm look like a pipe with teeth. Also extremely poisonous, spit and acid poison that will kill a camel or human within minutes. There it is. Yep, it was the Mongolian deathworm I was thinking about. What the fuck was I talking about? I got very wholeheartedly, completely sidetracked. I apologize greatly. That can't be entertaining to have listened to. Um, I remember now. The evolutionary adaptations they have being so exaggerated helps reflect the environments that these cultures live in. Like I said, the Yeti's covered in hair, so obviously it lives somewhere hairy. And something with webbed feet or like tails and fins, obviously they live near water, be it a swamp or maybe they're a peninsula or an island or just have a coast, etc. Anything with camouflage, obviously they live in whatever the camouflage would look like, be it like a wooded environment, be it hell even fucking stone now if they're a concrete jungle. There are other fun shit like that. But you can use the way they look, all the shit they have on them, the way they smell, even I don't fucking know, because I thought about the skunk ape. Um, as a way to reflect where the folks live, right? Sure, it's exaggerated, it's completely ridiculous, but hey, it's cryptids. The Fresno Nightcrawler again is a pair of pants. So we've since surpassed giving a fuck, even a little bit. Conspiracies. Now I didn't know if this should be added here because I don't know if conspiracies really constitute a legend. But depending on what you write, you absolutely have some room to pull some schizo bullshit, right? For starters, oil is sentient theory, or whatever. Let me just refresh myself on what that is. Oil is sentient. Uh, cons. How did I spell that wrong? Conspiracy. No T. There we are. Uh, now where can I find you again? No, not the actual real truth that oil came from prehistoric shit. Well, it was mostly like plants, admittedly, but I read a book that made me think oil is alive. That's very nice for you. What? Oil? Yeah, here it is. Cyclonopedia. Conspiracy. That's like some book or whatever. Conspiracy theory that oil has a life and intelligence of its own and wants to be used by humanity to create heat output, which is the funniest thing. Like, and I've mentioned before, like, oh yeah, it'd be pretty funny. Like, oh yeah, this is like silly and like goofy. No, this is the funniest fucking thing I have ever heard in the entirety of my life. The idea that oil is sentient. Because that's completely psychotic. I don't know how any rational person could believe that, and I don't think they do. But that's not what I'm here to talk about right now. Um, conspiracy theories are definitely something you can add into stories, be they in the mundane or be they in the completely, frankly, fucking bizarre and abnormal. Such as the idea that oil is sentient. I gotta read that theory one day. I gotta figure out what they're talking about. If I start believing it, however, shoot me. That's like, honestly, just unreal. If I start believing that shit, just kill me. It's too late for me. But like I said, the mundane, the fucking psychotic. Mundane being like the actual real oil conspiracy where like big oil is just a massive conglomerate that lobbies for not natural, yeah, natural gas, coal, and oil, fossil fuels to be used more than alternative energy sources like nuclear or like nuclear or hydroelectric, just to line their pockets more at the cost of the earth. The very real one that we're all very aware of but can do next to nothing about. How tragic. Is it any wonder I delve so far into fantasy? Um, right. It obviously depends on what the hell you're writing, what the hell genre it is, but there's always some room for some bullshit, crazy conspiracy theories. Either play it off as a joke, again, oil is real, flat Earth, the ice wall, hollow Earth, all this shit like that, or be genuine about it and actually talk about like what leads people into believing these sorts of things, what like basis they have to go off of, how it's actually real that lizard people run the government, all that shit. Which is definitely all very real. I want pickles really badly. I want to actually. I don't think I want pickles. I think I just want to drink the juice. Um, which is very good for you, by the way. Very high in all sorts of vitamins and minerals that you need. I don't think it's good in proteins though, but man, fuck protein anyway. Having a healthy weight's overrated. To be like me, rail thin. You can see my ribs when I pull my shirt taut against my skin. Don't even have to suck in my gut. You can just do that. Actually, there we are. I can slip my fingers beneath my ribs. And if I do a little bit of this, I can work my fingers beneath my shoulder blades. Obviously one at a time because it's hard to get the angle. Otherwise, actually, wait, hold on. Can I pull this off? With a little bit of finagling. Yep, there we are. Fingers beneath the shoulder blades. Yeah, healthy weight, overrated, not real. Anyway, conspiracies. Uh, here's a conspiracy I have, and it's a weird one. Not weird as in like, oh yeah, you're not gonna believe this shit. That's definitely real. But like weird as in like, it's kind of true, kind of not. I don't know. I don't believe in cuts of meat, right? And that sounds weird because I poorly explained it. You know when you go to the store and there's like sirloin, T-bone, flank steak, all that. That's that's bullshit and that's not real. Like filet mignon, oh, it's this sort of really good fatty meat or whatever that melts in your mouth or whatever they actually say. I don't know. I don't care about it. That's not real. That's made up by the meat companies just so they can package the same parts of the animal but in different ways and then hike up the price. Like flank steak compared to ribeye, there's no difference. I fully believe that. Have I ever had a filet mignon? No, that's too expensive for what amounts to just something I can get for like 20 bucks or whatever. Like, the cuts of meat don't exist. Just buy ground beef and flank steak. It's the cheapest stuff and it's like the stuff you can get the most of. Who cares? I also don't like rare meat, but I know that that is real. I just don't like it. Uh, Also because, like I said, the only steak I eat is ground beef or flank steak, which you can't cook rare. So even when I get like sirloins and stuff, I get it well done. It tastes good still. Give it a go if you haven't. I guarantee it won't be bad if you don't fuck it up anyway. Um, but like I was saying, there's definitely room for like conspiracies and stories if you want to make room for it. Obviously, not every single thing needs to have room for conspiracies, but the idea, like conspiracy theories, give conspiracies a bad name. Conspiracies are like what political drama would be complete without a conspiracy or a cabal or a plot or something to that effect, right? Conspiracies and stories are always like a fun time. So feel open to just like throw a few in there, like a conspiracy surrounding like a coup, right? That is a conspiracy. Conspiracy to overthrow the king. And then that can go down in history and then become a legend, right? About like the king who was betrayed by his court. You know, almost like I don't know, some sort of like emperor of history of some sort of empire. I don't, yeah, I don't know. I want a salad. That's unrelated. Some sort of salad with like I don't know, chicken in it maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Um, let's start talking about the prophecy thing now. As I'm sure it's been on your mind. I don't personally like prophecy stories because I just don't personally like them. Obviously, there's the whole thing of like, oh yeah, you're relying entirely on some unvetted child to wield the blade that will flay the Dark Lord into seven pieces or something. But also, they're just a lot of prophecy stories don't have fun with the prophecy unless they're children's media. The Lego movie had a fun twist on the prophecy because it was completely made up on the spot, but the story acts as though it wasn't. And there's like a fun thing about Emmett being completely and utterly fucking boring and in no way special. And he is now literally quote the special end quote and all that sort of shit. And Kung Fu Panda, where there is no chosen one martial artist because there is no secret to being good at martial arts. You just have to bother trying. Something something Kung Fu Panda 3 fucking that up, something something whatever. But right, with shit like that, they play on the prophecy ideal a lot more than like other prophetic stories. They're just like a fun time. Right? They actually like I don't want to say riff on it, but they definitely use it in a more interesting way than a bunch of other media. But so I'm here to tell you to try doing other fucking shit with it. For starters, people should just like normal people should straight up not give a fuck about the prophecy. Why would they care? It doesn't affect them one way or the other. Or people like, being so confident in the prophecies like coming to fruition that people overextend and make mistakes and shit like that, and that's how the Dark Lord's been able to capitalize on this for so long, or something to that effect. Or don't take everything I say at face value. I'm literally just coming up with this shit on the spot. Just like, what was his name? Was his name Vesuvius, like the volcano? Vitruvius? Like Morgan Freeman's character in the Lego movie. Um, what the fuck was his name? I like President Business because his name was stupid. Uh, like I was saying, or hell, nobody believes the prophecy because who the fuck would believe some random wretched cave hag? And and as such, not like they do the exact 180 of the prophecy, but when someone comes along who could maybe be the person foretold in the prophecy, instead of just giving them a retinue and sending them on their way, they actually train them thoroughly and keep them less on the front lines, but more as like a figurehead or morale booster or propaganda piece. Prophecies being used as propaganda is my favorite part, actually, of prophecies. Because that just makes sense. And, there's always the whole like, oh, by following the prophecy, they've doomed it into being. Which is a fun. I said it with a funny voice, but honestly, I like that trope. That's a trope I don't mind. But you get surely what I'm saying here, right? Of like, instead of just doing it straight up, why don't we have people actually have opinions and act on them regarding the prophecy and its contents and whatnot? And like I said, propaganda is a great way to like start doing that. Sometimes when I'm bored, I go on our world building and then look up propaganda and see what I can find. Sometimes it's good. Actually, most times it's good. But some stuff is like so comically like laid on thick. Um, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought 5 different times before I started it. You need to go to sleep soon. It's almost 12 in like 30 minutes. And immediately got distracted thinking about a song I was listening to. Let's just move on. Living legends. What do I mean by this? I got to thinking about saints because I was like, saints are pretty cool guys. Wish I could be one. That'd be cool. Being a stained glass window. Um, so obviously a lot of saints are dead. Part of being canonized as a saint is you gotta die. Well, I don't think that's necessary, but like a lot of saints are canonized after their death. Is it necessary? Fuck me. Now I gotta look it up. I don't remember if it's necessary. Do you need to be dead to be a saint? New tab. Do you to be? Yeah. You must. You need to be a dead. You need to be dead. Uh, huh. Actually, do you need to be? Are there living saints? I think. I think they were living saints. Oh, that's it. Okay. Part of being a saint is to post-mortem miracles after their death. So there can be living saints, but like sainthood, saintdom, canonization, you have to be dead. How strange. Do you know the jawbone of Saint Anthony? I mentioned this before. The jawbone of Saint Anthony is like, and his tongue plated in silver. Uh, Relics of Saint Anthony is like entombed in a golden bust, man. Look it up. It looks fucking awesome. Like the reliquary it's laid in looks amazing. It's so intricately detailed and carved and like all sorts of like beautiful decorations on it for such a morbid thing. Like that is the man's jawbone. Lower jaw, dude. Let me zoom in. I think there are some like carvings on it. It's hard to make it out. how oh man, it's so weird. And while you're at it, look up the skull of Mary Magdalene because she is in a golden suit of armor, which is fucking awesome, by the way, including hair, which is really cool. Is that a suit of armor? Is that I always forget if it's a suit of armor. No. Okay, it's like a shrine and like angels are holding up her severed head. It almost looks like armor though. But like look at that shit. It is definitely morbid. But fuck if it ain't cool. If only. Um anyway. So with stuff like saints, right? They're effectively living legends by well, by which I mean usually like to be representative of paragons of some sort of virtue, and then obviously the miracles after their death. But like assuming that they're living legends, which is what we're talking about right now, and we'll get into religious stuff later. And immediately I lost the fucking plot. Uh, I am cold. Where's my sweater? There it is. What's a cardigan actually? What was I saying? I was thinking about. Sorry, I got distracted with acorn dice. Living legends. They are like these. Okay, there it is. They're like these paragons of virtues or some higher ideal to strive to, right? So it's pretty obvious what they represent, or like what they represent the, like I said, like ideals of this sort of force of good. And as a result, they become this figurehead for a way. Holy fuck, something popped in my neck. There we are. Okay, wow, that. And they become this like paragon of that, showing the ideals a culture venerates, how they treat the people who have achieved these, how they can use this as a way of like not enforcing but like encouraging others to follow suit, etc. And this is even beyond just saints, right? A living legend such as a war hero, right? Painting a war heroes aside, such as a war hero, someone who you know tales of, the things they've done and like the feats they've achieved, and they're still alive. And it's obviously like it's impressive and whatnot. But people being the center of a legend while still alive does a lot for like the idea of the legend, because then you have a nice back and forth of how do they react to people talking about them constantly and always, and how uncomfortable could that be? How could they embrace it? How could they correct it? Should they correct it? To what extent is the legend hyperbolized? Who is continuing the hyperbolization, especially with the person still alive when they're able to talk to and discuss with, etc., all these things with them? Do you see what I'm talking about here? There's a few ways to use living legend. The main character may want to meet up with them, pick their brain on things. The main character may buy into the idea completely and try to recruit them into the retinue. Your main character might be the son of this person and want to live up to their quote unquote legacy. Maybe they're even told to live up to their quote unquote legacy. Whether or not they want to or not is up to you and your story. But I'm sure you get what I'm saying here now, right? Like, there's just so much to do, potentially, with a legend that's alive, and how they could interact with the story and the characters within it. And then how the legend shapes who they are and how who they are shape the legend, right? Vice versa. Why are they legends? And we can get into that now. History and idolization. In parentheses, you can see there Caesar, generals, leaders, poets, philosophers, etc. People like Diogenes too much. He had a gimmick. He kind of sucked. He's a weird fucking homeless freak. that just piss people off all day. Yeah, sure, it's cool. Like he's cool sometimes, but like people care too much about that man. He's just like fine. Um, I mentioned already. What the fuck was his name? Napoleon Bonaparte. And I made allusions to Caesar, right? Julius Caesar. And then there's also uh what the Alexander the Great, right? He's another sort of like historical figure who has a legend about him of him like what was it, sieging Gaul, was it that he did? I don't remember. Well, technically he fucking sieged everything in sight. With like the same could be said with Alexander the Great, right? Let me just straighten my back. Oh, hot damn, that was good. Check your posture, folks. Nice. Because, uh, oof, that one is something different. Check your posture because that is definitely something you want to keep an eye on and correct whenever you see it getting bad. Might want to get up and walk around too. Get that blood flowing in the legs if you need it. But do you get what I was saying there? With like we have these people in our own history, right? Of like these ancient figures, Caesar, Alexander the Great, Ivan the Terrible. Was it Catherine the Great? Now, for some reason, I immediately thought of was it Ivan the Terrible versus Alexander the Great? Epic Rap Battles of History. We also do this even for not like leaders or like generals, but for intellectuals. People fucking adore Nikolai Tesla. Take any alt history setting, and you'll see how much that man is venerated. Sure, he was intelligent. I'll definitely give him that. But there's almost this worship of intelligence in the modern day, which is kind of gross and weird to see. Me saying this, being a complete fucking moron and a dumb, dumb idiot, stupid head and all that. But like, I don't know, it's weird and gross to kind of see. That's why I put there poets and philosophers because people have this weird obsession with philosophers. And Friedrich Nietzsche, despite people not really taking him seriously anymore, like he's not. Like, he's insert that salmonella clip here. You know the one about eels. Was that him? Did I say Nietzsche? Did I meant to say um what's his name? He did like you want to fuck your mom. Sigmund Freud. Yeah, I meant Sigmund Freud. Nietzsche was in an asylum in the later parts of his life, and his sister kind of published his works, air quotes, without his permission or knowledge and stole all the money. So like a lot of Nietzsche's stuff, like the man who killed God or whatever, he was a Christian. That stuff is like not correctly stated. He was in an asylum. He went crazy. I forget why. But the point I'm saying here is right. These people have like legends to them, most of which are not true, or at least very exaggerated. You can play up into that. You can do a little bit of research on them yourselves and play up into that. A great example is the Hamilton musical. I'm gonna be real, I don't know if that's a great example at all. I've never seen the Hamilton musical. I don't like musicals. Um, I also don't like Hamilton fans, I think is my biggest issue. Or musical fans, actually. The only musical I ever saw was Sweeney Todd, the Butcher Barber. And that was a movie. Johnny Depp can't sing for shit, by the way. He really struggled to get those fucking like lyrics out. They're so hard. Anyway, the point I'm saying here is right. We have real life figures to draw upon for like ideals surrounding legends and like idolization of like real actual people that you can easily draw on to make the legends in your stories and shape them into things like that. Religious legends. Finally, my wheelhouse. But I'm tired, so this will actually be a short topic, despite me being able to talk about this if I wanted. Um, for like I mentioned before, the Saints already. They have like representative purpose. I've mentioned before, I'm pretty sure that the point of the Saints is to be like, well, obviously like the whole miracles thing, but but with Saints, it's less focusing on the miracles performed after their deaths, but like more on what they achieved in their life. The idea is to show, sure, you may not be, say, an angel, or say you may not be the Son of God in the way Jesus Christ was, but you, despite being mortal, are still capable of great feats, able to comfort those who are hurt, able to give to the needy, etc. You can live a virtuous life, a good and full, full. A lot of them died early because they were killed usually. A good and full life, full of not work explicitly, but rather performing good acts for those around you, being charitable, being patient, diligent, all of this much the same they were, because like you, they were just people who believed in, you don't have to believe, that's the whole thing. But like the point I'm saying here, right, is the point of the saints is like this was a person who did these things. Therefore, if you ever need motivation, look to someone who accomplished great things, yet is the same as you are. Idea, right? And then even beyond that, there's other legends, such as the flood, right? Noah's Ark, antediluvian, referring to before the biblical flood. One of my favorite words, by the way. And David and Goliath, Cain and Abel, uh, Isaac and his father, whose name I forgot, King Solomon, just like as a whole, the book of Job, things like that. All of these are kind of like partially teaching a moral lesson, but also partially, um, like for Noah's Ark. And in the Bible, a lot of things that you are not to take at face value, like such as two of every animal on earth, right, is not to be taken at face value. The point of Noah's Ark is to like detail a covenant with God to like prevent any of his own volition, like disasters and floods of shit like that, right? You see what I'm trying to say? I don't know. It's been a while since I've read the part on Noah's Ark and shit and all that, but take instead for example of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, wretched dens of sin and vice, and like genuinely awful people in moral degradation. As a result, the cities were turned to salt. Obviously, it's a very extreme example, but the point here is that seeking short-term pleasures in sin and vice is to lead to one's own destruction and downfall. And that's a recurring theme over and over again. But you're not here for like Bible study. Hell, I'm not even here to give you Bible study. I'm very bad at it myself. But the I'm trying to paint a picture to you and like how these religious legends come to being, and they represent, and the idea that they're more representative than like factual, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but that's also not the word I'm looking for. Um, it's fine to have things be vague and weird and floaty, because a lot of things are vague and weird and floaty. And then finally, I didn't touch on it super much, but moral lessons. Every legend's got a moral lesson, right? Well, not everyone at all, fucking A. Like fairy tales, they've got moral lessons. Parables, they've got lessons they want to impart upon the. You can learn a great many things from studying the figures of history and philosophers and poets. People idolize suffering. That's the issue. Because I thought I was like, why do people idolize poets? They were fucking freaks in their own time. It's because people idolize the idea of suffering. If you idolize the idea of suffering, do some push-ups, man. But I don't know what else to say, and my head hurts, and I want to go to bed because it's 10 minutes to 12. Um, any ideas for future videos I'm going to do? Please go ahead and leave in the comments. I'll rifle through them all and like consider what I can do, etc. I hope any of this was useful to you. Sorry for going on a tirade about the Bible at you for no reason. I'm sure you weren't here for that. And just let me know how you felt about this video, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.